Now that you are there, you will be very helpful to us elsewhere, not on this discussion on law or no law. I will just remind you of Lord Pierce, the cases from Zimbabwe, Rhodesia. Now, the British government refused to acknowledge accord recognition to Rhodesia. The Rhodesian government went on, and some cases went from Rhodesia to the Privy Council. Privy Council held that it was not a legitimate government, and it was an act or law of an illegitimate regime. Then Lord Pierce wrote a dissenting opinion where he advised that the gulf between legitimacy and actuality and practicality is wide, can only be briefed by common sense.
As a couple.
So can we go on and stop all this long debate on what is law, what is no law?
My lord, this is it.
It will take one week, we haven't finished.
We will go on, we'll go on.
My lord, this is not law. I was just going to say, sir, that the laws of Agostino Pinochet for 17 years were laws. Pinochet became a fugitive and had to be brought trial under the law. Milosevic
has it been brought?
Is now on trial. Yes, sir. He appeared 3 days ago, sir.
When? Yesterday?
War crime in The Hague 3 days ago.
Oh, 2 days ago.
He refused to plead not guilty. They enter a plea of not guilty for him. No matter how high you are, the law is higher than you.
Femi Falana, SAN, has distinguished himself in the Nigerian legal profession as an outstanding legal practitioner and human rights activist. He was born on May 20, 1958, and he is more popularly known for opposing oppression from successive military regimes. In this episode, Femi Falana is a petitioner, and in his testimony, he reels out a long list of arrests and violations meted out to him by the successive military regimes in the course of his activism. In the course of the Human Rights Violation Investigation Commission, Femi Falana has represented a list of prominent names, including MKO Abiola, and his cheeky humor and wit has been put on display for all to see. He's a principal partner at the Falana and Falana Chambers, which he runs with his wife, Femi Falana, who is also a senior advocate of Nigeria. He is also father of the Nigerian rap star Falz. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and drop us a comment, and we'll see you in the next video.
And the honorable members of the commission, I humbly announce my appearance for the commission. My name is Mrs. Chinwe Owandu. Mr. E.I. Akaka is appearing with me.
Most respectfully, sir, I appear for the petitioner. My name is Femi Falana, Mrs.
With profound respect to the commission, I, G. Binovia, for the State Security Service. Appearing with me is Salisu Gambo.
With due respect, my lord, I am N. Eze Okara. N. Eze Okara for National Youth Service Corps. Appearing with me is Mr. J.U. Nayaba.
Before I forget, you may be included in giving us a write-up, you and Uju, on the prisons, situation in the prisons.
National Youth Service Corps.
NYS. Oh.
National Youth.
NYS.
All right then.
Okay. Rise that.
That all the appearances?
Yes.
Yeah. Swear?
I
I, Femi Falana,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that the evidence I shall give
that the evidence I shall give
before this honorable commission
before this honorable commission
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth. I so affirm.
Yes, witness, can you tell the panel your name?
Well, Femi Falana is my name.
Where do you live?
Well, I think you know where I live. I live in Lagos.
This is my big client.
My lord, we live together in Lagos.
Not in this tribunal, somewhere else.
Petitioner, what do you do for a living?
I'm a legal practitioner.
You are being recorded.
Yes, go on.
You
So don't look at us.
You sent a petition to the commission sometimes.
Yes, please.
You sent a petition to this commission sometimes.
Yes,
If you
please.
see a copy of the petition, can you identify it?
Yes, my lord. Yes. This is a copy of the petition I sent to this honorable commission.
Very well. Can you read the petition?
Tendered Exhibit 1.
Ask my lord, please. Well, my lord, very briefly. This is a case of numerous infringements of my fundamental rights by successive military regimes between 1985 and 1998. 1983, on my call to the Nigerian bar in July 1982, I was posted to Oyo State for my
What
national...
about before that one?
Well, I'm a legal practitioner
Yes.
and the incumbent president of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights. Below is a catalogue of abuses and violations of my rights between 1985 and 1998. On my call to the Nigerian bar in July 1982, I was posted to Oyo State for my National Youth Service Corps program. I completed the service on schedule, but the NYSC authorities withheld my discharge certificate on the ground that I handled the case of Androgo and 5 others versus Kolawole, reported in 1983, one Nigerian Constitutional Law report at page 342, wherein I successfully challenged the legal detention of the plaintiffs who were undergraduates of the University of Ibadan at the material time. Since the NYSC is still holding on to the certificate, I consider this a continuous breach of my right to property. You may therefore wish to direct the NYSC National Directorate to release my discharge certificate forthwith. In respect of this, sir, the whole idea of denying me my discharge certificate was to make sure that I was not employed by anybody in the country. But I was lucky that the former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Allah Akabasho, got evidence that I successfully completed my NYSC and he employed me at the risk of the, whatever might happen. That was how I was able to get employed. But what is important here, sir, in respect of this case, the judge who handled the case, one Justice Ayorinde, who later became the chief judge of Oyo State, had this oddly withdrawn for giving judgment in favor of the students whom I represented. At the time the police were trying to arrest me in Ibadan, I managed to escape to Lagos, and that was what saved me. The NYSC has not, I must have visited the office more than 50 times in Ibadan. Anytime I had a case in Ibadan, I would go to find out what has happened to this certificate. He said, well, it's safe, but they don't have instructions yet from Abuja to release. And I think you may want to help me, sir. 1985, I was arrested on July 12, 1985, over the defense of Fela Anikulapo Kuti, now deceased, in respect of his anti-foreign exchange case, for which he was sentenced to a 5-year jail term. Detained at 15 Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, Lagos, under the State Security Detention of Persons Decree No. 2 of 1984. I was held in Communicado for 7 weeks and released on August 30, 1985 without trial. Attached here with and marked Exhibit A, sir, is page 14,055 of volume 21 Laws of the Federation. The federal government gazetted those of us who were detained at that time. I was locked up with politicians and all sorts of people, 419 people, armed robbery suspects, because I was considered a dangerous person in the course of my professional duty. But what is interesting, sir, is that when I appeared before the panel set up by the federal government, it was said in that decree, sir, that Femi Falana, page 513, he was arrested shortly after he helped in the defense of Anikula.
Before you go further, you talked about Exhibit A.
Yes, sir.
We haven't seen it here.
I'm sorry, sir. That was when I want to tender Exhibit A.
All right, then.
I hereby wish to tender Exhibit A. I'm sorry, sir. I was taking over the job of my lawyer.
My client has taken over.
That would be Exhibit 2.
I seek to tender as Exhibit 2, my lord.
Exhibit 2, that is, what is Attachment A?
That's my lord, please. I was arrested by the SSS on July 10, 1989 for writing a letter demanding for the release of a South African, Mr. Kenneth Guetta, who was then detained in Lagos. And I did this, sir, to save the image of the federal government from embarrassment. I was specifically accused of kidnapping Mr. Guetta by the SSS. After a 6-hour detention at 15 Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, Lagos, I was released on bail. Dr. Bekon some cuties too shorty for me, 1990. I was arrested at about 6 a.m. on April 10, 1990 in my residence in Lagos by 3 operatives of the State Security Service. I was driven to Lagos Epe Road, where they suddenly stopped and threw me out of their car in the bush. A similar treatment was meted almost simultaneously to Dr. Bekon and some who was dropped off at Ijaniki along Lagos-Badagry Express Road at about the same time. Owing to the public outcry against the action, the presidency ordered the police to investigate my complaint. The police at the Panti station, Lagos, investigated the case, but the report has not seen the light of day. My lord, if I may disclose here, in the course of investigation, it was revealed that there was a mistake in the time of my arrest. Actually, they came at 4 a.m. They had picked Dr. Beck on some at about 4 a.m. The two of us were supposed to be dealt with that night. But my wife did not allow them to come in until 6 a.m. because we used to regard them as armed robbers. And we say, if you are from the State House, wait until it is daybreak. And that was how we were able to escape that incident. So it was daylight before I was arrested. And I think that really destroyed the operation. 1991, on May 11, 1991, 2 police officers visited my residence by 10 p.m. with instructions to search the premises. As they had no search warrant, I refused to allow the search. I was asked to report at Alagbon the following day. I did, only to be requested to make a statement in respect of the Jennifer Madike's case, which I was handling then. I declined, citing attorney-client privilege. I was granted bail in self-recognizance. The same 1991, on May 14, I traveled to the United States to attend the 50th anniversary symposium of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Olisa Agbakoba and Clement Nwanko also attended the symposium. On my return to Nigeria on May 26, 1991, I was arrested by the State Security Service officials at the Seme border, who impounded my luggage and removed $200 from my wallet. I was driven to the SSS detention camp at Shangisha on the outskirts of Lagos, where I was accused of inciting students of the University of Jos at a rally held in Jos on May 23. But when I produced documents to show that I was in New York on that day in question, I was released on May 27, 1991, and warned to stop providing legal services to students. My luggage was returned to me without the $200. My lord, this will interest you. At that time, I could not travel out through the border, through the airport. So we had our own route through the Seme border, sir. But while I was in the US, I understand the police had secretly declared me wanted that I was inciting students. So to prove that I traveled out of the country and I was coming,
I now passed semi-border during the day, and they thought they had really made a cash. I said, no, I came here purposely so that you can arrest me for me to make a case of alibi. On July 14, 1991, while I had traveled to Ile-Ife, 4 operatives of the State Security Service invaded my residence at 6 a.m. They harassed my family and wanted to arrest my wife in lieu of me. She resisted arrest with the assistance of neighbors, but was asked to warn me to withdraw from the Jennifer Madike's case. On October 8, 1991, Olisa Agbakoba and I were traveling for a meeting of non-governmental organizations in Harare to prepare a human rights program for the upcoming Commonwealth Heads of Government Conference. My passport was seized by officials of the State Security Service at the Murtala Mohammed Airport, Ikeja, who detained me for 2 hours and prevented me from traveling. I was ordered to report at the SSS office at 15 Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, the following day. On reporting at the office, I was interrogated over my human rights activities. They refused to release my passport to me. 1992. On March 31, 1992, my passport that was seized by the SSS on October 8, 1991, was released to me through the office of the Attorney General. This was after 6 months of illegal seizure of same by the SSS. And my Lord, on that occasion, I swore never to pass through the airport again, not to allow them to seize the passport. And I want to say this at this junction, that up till now, sir, my name is number 9 on the computer of the SSS, stationed in all airports in Nigeria. My Lord, the name of the president, this will interest you. The name of President Olusegun Obasanjo is also in that record. I have requested them to delete these names, at least particularly my own name, up till now, sir. Anytime I'm still traveling, they will still detain me, look at the whole thing, and say, but we are now under a democratic government. They say, well, the record is still there. So I'm urging you, sir, to order the SSS to delete names of those who have not been declared wanted under the law from those computers. Yes, sir. On May 19, 1992, I was abducted at the premises of the Ikeja High Court by a combined team of police and SSS officials. I was driven to the General Investigation Department Ikeja, where I met Dr. Bekora Somkuti and Baba Omojela, who had been abducted in their homes in the early hours of the day. Each of us was led to the office of the Commissioner of Police, then Mr. Saminu Daura, and asked to sign a prepared statement admitting the violation of certain provisions of the Transition to Civil Rule Decree. On refusal to sign the prepared statement, we were taken to Kuje prisons on May 20. Chief Ganifa Emi, who had 5 separate suits for our release in Lagos, was also arrested and brought to Kuje prisons to join us. And my Lord, on our way to Kuje prisons, we also held at Wuse police station in Abuja here, where we were locked up with armed robbery suspects. General Zamani Lekwot, who had been arrested over the Zango Kataf crisis, also joined us on our way to Kuje prisons. On June 4, 1992, the Lagos High Court, by Justice Aka, late now, ordered my release and awarded 4,000 naira for my unlawful detention. The order was flouted by the federal government. Meanwhile, the then Attorney General, Mr. Clement Akpango, SAN, addressed a press conference where he claimed that our plans to overthrow the Babangida regime had been uncovered. On June 15, Chief Ganifa, Dr. Bekona Somkuti, Baba Omojela, Olusegun Mayegun, and I were charged with conspiracy and treasonable felony at the Gwagwalada Chief Magistrate Court. Our application for bail was granted on June 29. After several adjournments, the case was eventually struck out for want of diligent prosecution. On December 4, the same year, Dr. Bekora Somkuti and I were invited to the Criminal Investigation Intelligence Bureau, Force Headquarters Annex in Lagos, for printing and circulating seditious materials against the Babangida junta. Both of us made statements denying the allegation and were granted bail in self-recognizance. In each of these occasions, sir, we always asked the SSS why they were harassing us for fighting military regime, in the sense that none of these dictators was elected by the Nigerian people.
1993. On January 7, 1993, Colonel Shijuka addressed a press conference together with one Bolaji Olanipekun, an operative of the DMI. At the press conference where Colonel Shijuka claimed that the leaders of the Campaign for Democracy had conspired to assassinate some generals, Bolaji Olanipekun refused to implicate Chief Fawemi, Dr. Bekoransom Kuti, and myself. For his refusal to implicate us, Mr. Olanipekun was arrested and charged before the Kuru Magistrate Court, FCT, for giving false information. We later met him in Kuje prison, sir. And when I was released, I had to secure his own release, sir. On April 17, the same year, I was arrested in my law office at Ikeja by a horde of security men who came in 3 unmarked vehicles. After a search of the office, I was taken to the SSS office at Shangisha, where I was held for 5 days. In the course of my interrogation, I was accused of spreading information about an impending coup against the Babangida junta. On July 5, the same year, Chief Fawemi, Dr. Kuti, and I were arrested in connection with the nationwide protest that greeted the annulment of the June 12 election by the IBB junta. We were detained for 2 days in Lagos and taken to Abuja on July 7, where we were charged for conspiracy and sedition before a Wuse Magistrate Court. Our application for bail was turned down and our remand in prison custody was ordered. We were held at the Kuje prisons. That's the second year, sir. We were returned to the same prison. The High Court, Abuja, admitted us to bail in spite of our detention under Decree 2 of 1984. The government refused to obey the court order. We were however released on August 29 by the interim national government as our detention could no longer be justified. On November 13, the same year, at about 10:30 a.m., I was abducted at the Kaduna airport by SSS officials. I was on my way to Zaria to attend the memorial rally in honor of the late Dr. Mahmoud Tukur, a former president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities. He was a client of mine. I was driven to the office of the SSS in Kaduna, where I was interrogated for over 3 hours on the allegation that I was in Kaduna to eliminate Chief Ernest Shoneko. I was, however, released at 5:30 a.m. on that day. Again, my Lord, this will interest you. For the first time in my life, the SSS brought a car to the tarmac to fetch me while I was landing. And I had my suspicion. Why this VIP treatment? They said, no. Those who have invited you for this program may just have asked us to collect you. We said, no. My clients could not mobilize a car to enter the tarmac. And so they wanted to push me into the car. I then pretended I had a gun in my pocket. I said, I will fire. The fear, sir, the fear was that if I had allowed them to kidnap me at the tarmac, anything could happen. We already knew ourselves. I then insisted I would go with you on one condition. You will allow me to go to the VIP lodge. I won't go to the general departure lodge, where I would tell some of those who were in the plane with me that I was being taken away. And they allowed me, because they knew I won't follow them. And where I informed Alhaji Ibrahim Waziri, who is now a special advisor to General Obasanjo, that he should tell Baba Omojola to tell my family I was being taken away. And that was what happened that day. And I told the SSS, what business have I to kill Shoneka? He will run away. I don't need to kill him. You know. And he later ran away, sir. In 1994, sir, on March 11, I was invited to Panti Police Station, Yaba, to apply for the bail of 2 members of the Campaign for Democracy as a lawyer, Leah Adebayo and Fatai Jubri, who were being held. On getting to the police station, I was arrested and interrogated for sedition and incitement. I was, however, granted bail in self-recognizance when I informed the police that the sedition law had been pronounced dead by the Court of Appeal in Enugu in 1983 in the case of Oton Nwankwo and the state. On March 15, that's 4 days later, I was arrested along with some activists at Mushin, Lagos, for participating in the No to War rally organized by the Campaign for Democracy over the Bakassi dispute. I was, however, granted bail after a 6-hour interrogation. On June 9, I was arrested in my law office and taken to the Alagbon police station, where I was charged with circulating seditious pamphlets. I was released on June 15 without being charged to court. 1995, on January 12, I was abducted along Obafemi Awolowo Way by a team of SSS officials. This was on the road, sir. I was taken to 19 Awolowo Road, where I was detained for 2 days. I was accused of traveling to Canada illegally. My Lord, I went through the back door. That was what they meant by traveling illegally. Dr. Ransom Kuti was equally arrested for traveling to India illegally.
Again, he went through our route too. On January 15, we were taken to the Alagbon police station. The police refused to detain us on the ground that we had committed no offense. For the first time, the police said, like Pontius Pilate, we have no hands in this one. The SSS then transferred us to the immigration office at Alagbon. And the immigration people said, sir, we only deal with those who have come into our country illegally. These are Nigerians. We can't do anything to them. We were later granted bail. Chief Falana stood shorty for both of us. On May 23, 4 operatives of the SSS arrested me. After searching my office for and residence, I was taken to their office at Shangisha, where I was interrogated over the legal defense of Ken Saruwa and other Ogoni leaders in the charge of murder pending before the Outer Special Tribunal. I was released on May 24 because I said if they didn't release me, the trial would not proceed. On December 12 that year, I was arrested by 4 policemen at the premises of the Lagos High Court on my way to the foyer of the court to attend the valedictory session organized in honor of the retiring Justice Bello. Because of the arrest, judges and lawyers who had assembled for the ceremony threatened to boycott same. I was released an hour later after being held at the Lion Building. The arrest was at the instance of the returning Chief Justice. He publicly apologized on behalf of the police for my arrest because he was the one who lodged the complaint to the police that he feared that Chief Falana and I could disrupt his valedictory service for supporting the military. 1996, on February 14, 1996, I was arrested in my law office by SSS operatives. A search was conducted in the office, and even though nothing incriminating was found, some of my case files were seized by security officials. From the office, they moved to my house, where another search was conducted. Thereafter, I was taken to 15 Awolowo Road, where I was held incommunicado for 4 weeks. On March 13, I was transferred to Adegia prisons in Mawadashi, Jigawa State, where I was detained for 8 months in horrible conditions. On March 20, my office was invaded by SSS operatives who had come to arrest Mr. Giti Ogunye, one of the counsel in my office. As he had gone to court, the office secretary, Mrs. Yemisi Odukoya, was arrested in lieu of Mr. Giti Ogunye. She was released the following day when Mr. Ogunye refused to report at the SSS office as instructed. The order made by the Federal High Court permitting my family and doctor to visit me was flouted. On April 6, I was taken to Abuja to meet members of the United Nations fact-finding mission to Nigeria, with whom I had a discussion on the human rights record of the country. I regained my freedom on November 20 when I was informed that I no longer constituted a threat to state security. As no arrangements were made for my return trip to Lagos, I had to raise a loan of 10,000 naira from well-wishers to take care of myself and Mr. Femi Falana, who had just been released from another prison in Gumel, Jigawa State. My Lord, I can tell you, this was my most horrible experience. I will tell you about the prison later. On March 17, this was in 1997, 2 officials of the Directorate of Military Intelligence accosted me at the premises of the Fairbank Tribunal, Lagos, where they threatened to deal with me if I continue to defend the accused person in the case of Federal Republic of Nigeria versus Edward Eduveri. As the then Minister of Works and Housing, General Abdulkarim Adisa, was said to have an interest in the case. I was very interested, sir, in Lagos when General Adisa came to complain. I was harassed on that occasion because of him. On September 1, 1997, armed security operatives laid siege from noon till 7:30 p.m. on my law chambers, thereby preventing me from traveling to the United States for a private visit. The land I was traveling, so they invaded the place. So I missed the flight and they warned me not to travel. On March 12, the Satellite Hotel Ilorin was invaded by SSS operatives at about 2 a.m. They arrested me in my hotel room along with 9 other persons who had been invited to attend a one-day workshop on labor laws in Nigeria. We were taken to the SSS office in Ilorin, where we were subjected to interrogation. We were later transferred to the police station, where we were detained till March 17. We were charged with conspiracy and unlawful assembly, but granted bail by the Chief Magistrate Court. The case was later struck out for want of diligent prosecution. Conclusion, sir. In the light of the foregoing, the Nigerian Police Force, State Security Service, and the Directorate of Military Intelligence consistently violated my fundamental rights between 1985 and 1998 as a product of deliberate state policy. The repressive regimes
headed by Generals Buhari, Babangida, and Chief Ernest Shonekon, as well as the late General Sani Abacha, should be held accountable for the aforesaid violations of my fundamental rights. In particular, Mr. Clement Akpango ought to prove the allegation of treason recklessly made against me in 1992. In 1992 and 1993, the International Human Rights Law Group, based in the United States, filed complaints over my detention before the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention in Geneva. In both instances, it was found that my detention was arbitrary. It is, however, significant to note that the explanation preferred by the federal government was that the violation of my rights were, unquote, as a result of subversive activities with the aim of undermining the security of the state. Find attached the decisions of that august body, two of them, sir.
My Lord, I seek to tender this as exhibits.
One by one, which is the one you're holding now?
The report, my Lord, the final decision report from Geneva, my Lord, on the arbitrary detention of Mr. Falana. One by one. That's the first one. There are two of them. That's the first one. That's the second one.
Exhibits 3 and 4.
As my Lord pleases. My Lord,
We'll read that so that it will, the revenue reporters will. Exhibit 3 is what?
The decision, my Lord, on the arbitrary detention of Mr. Falana, the decision of the United Nations Working Group.
And then exhibit 4 is what?
Same decision, my Lord.
following year.
The following year, my Lord.
All right, for our records.
Thank you, sir. Apart from ensuring that those responsible for the violations of my rights are brought to book, the panel should recommend that I be paid monetary compensation, sir, of 100 million naira, accompanied with a public apology from the federal government. Thank you very much, sir. But by way of addition, sir, I have this to say. I want to say this, sir, that apart from 2 occasions where I was held in police cells by overzealous officers, and on one other occasion where a soldier slapped me during the Ogoni trial, the trial of the Mossop leaders, I must confess, sir, that I enjoyed tremendous goodwill from all officers of the state who had cause to torture me if possible. On each occasion, they extended their hands of friendship. And when they were told not to disclose where I was being held, sir, these officers, for reasons best known to them, will find a way of passing message to my family in Lagos. And when I tried to find out, I think about 1997, why some of us enjoy this kind of privileged treatment, I was told, sir, by SSS officials that they were convinced that some of us were fighting for all of us, and therefore they needed to protect some of us. My Lord, I want to say that the institution, there is institutional tyranny, institutional torture in this country, whereby some of the security sharps and police officers are mere agents. I had alluded to the Prison Act of this country, sir. From my comparative studies, sir, our Prison Act is the most antiquated in the whole of the African continent. It is what the colonialists handed over to us that we are still operating. And I want to say this without any fear of contradiction, that the colonialists were more humane
in dealing with Nigerians than our own people. As a matter of fact, sir, throughout the colonial regime, no Nigerian was ever charged with treason or treasonable felony. The highest, sir, was the case of some students, some youth members of the Zikis movement. One of them, one of Gushuku, who wanted to kill the representative of the Queen in Nigeria, the Governor General. He didn't kill him, he didn't succeed, but he stabbed a white official in Lagos. He was charged with murder and later released for what they call youthful exuberance. So, my lord, at the very highest, sir, boys in the Zikis movement, those who were even calling for revolution, were only charged with sedition. And many of them went to court gallantly, in Nahuru, Aguna, and all of them, to justify why they were attacking the colonial regime. Nobody charged them with treason, nobody charged them with treason felony. But even the prisons then, sir, I'm submitting, sir, that Nigerians got better treatment. Today, sir, no prison in Nigeria, sir, can meet the standard of the United Nations with respect to the minimum standard for treatment of prisoners. The first question, the first issue, there is no prison in Nigeria that has enough beds and beddings for inmates. None. You have a situation, sir, where our prisons have now become torture centers. Apart from physical, by agents of the state, the prison conditions are such that they are built without ventilation. A few are supposed to be modern prisons, sir, like the Kuje prison, one or two others around. And I want to say, sir, that those prisons are very few. And you can only be kept in some privileged part of the prisons, like Ikoyi prisons. There is a place we call White House. Today, sir, you cannot be kept in the White House if, while you are being admitted, you don't pay 25,000 naira unofficially. That is the arrangement today. It exists in Kirikiri prisons and other prisons, sir. And in these prisons, sir, what they also do is that there's a lot of trafficking between poorly paid prison officers and some senior prisoners. And I want to say, sir, that for many awaiting trial suspects who may be discharged later because they are locked up with hardened criminals, they end up committing more crimes. As a matter of fact, sir, what we used to do in the prisons was that boys would gather around us and everybody had to tell his own story. Why were you brought to this prison? In the course of narrating these stories to us, you make your own, you create your own heroes and idols, even among criminals. And so some of the boys who have come in as innocent sharps are then recruited into armed robbery gangs. And unfortunately, sir, the society does not welcome ex-convicts. Once you have gone to prison, you cannot contest election. Your family will not welcome you. And so most of these prisoners, ex-convicts, go back to the prison. And my lord, if you are going to have time.
You are preempting us because
yes,
we want your group.
Yes, sir. Essentially.
To write a comprehensive memo first on your struggles, what obstacles you met on the way, yes, how these obstacles, which are institutional and systemic and systematic, yes, can be dismantled. Yes, because Nigeria wouldn't go far unless the system is looked at, yes, critically, yes, possibly reformed. If you can reform it, dismantled. Yes, so we want, you are coming up again, yes, sir, as a group.
Yes, sir.
Give us a complete write-up first on our prison services, the prison laws,
yes, sir,
the United Nations requirement,
yes, sir,
how far short we've fallen of these,
yes, sir,
recommendations for improvement.
Yes, sir.
Then some of you have gone to prison 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
Yes, sir.
I don't think you need regret at all.
Yes, sir.
If this country has to progress, some people must have to sacrifice.
I agree with your lordship.
You can't do it otherwise. Every country in its history has had those who were willing to sacrifice for the good of the common good. So give us a write-up. We will call you as a group. Write up on what you found deficient in the structures. In Enugu, I think it's in Enugu, we dealt with structural injustices. Society has a lot of structures that are unjust. And if you do not attack those structures, you're wasting time. Attacking human beings don't, the structure themselves first. If you reform the structures and you're lucky to get some good men into the new structures, then you can make headway. So let us have a write-up. This is all right, the litany of what those who fight for rights go through.
Thank you, sir.
It's a fight. Throughout history, it's been a tension between might and right.
As a corporate.
It can't be otherwise. If you go back to 1215, the Magna Carta, that's a start. When people say we can bear it no longer, we want our rights. The mere fact that you have petition of rights means that rights have been violated. So please, that will be very, very useful to us, not that somebody went to prison and came out. That is neither here nor there. It's just an example of a defect in the system. Then the psyche of some of our operatives, like police officers, some military officers, they have to be reprogrammed, re-educated. It's not their fault.
I'm a lawyer,
it's education.
Sir. Lawyer, sir. In fact, that's where I'm going, sir. The
Well,
attorneys general.
I'm glad you mentioned lawyers.
Attorneys general, sir. And this is where I'm going, sir. If we are going to make progress in this country with respect to rights, our colleagues in the Ministry of Justice and the attorneys general, sir, must live according to what we are taught.
I wish you were in Port Harcourt. Were you in Port Harcourt with us?
I was there, sir.
Uh-huh. Then the biasel cases.
Yes.
You were there?
Yes, sir.
You saw what happened?
Yes, sir.
So mention all that in your report.
Yes, sir.
There's going to be an all-round change if we are going to progress.
My Lord, why I'm saying that, sir, and I want you to make a recommendation to the bar, particularly the body of senior advocates, because they already have an holy alliance with the federal government, that anytime there is going to be a federal attorney general of the federation, he must be a senior advocate. So, my Lord, you will see that between 1984, December 31, 1983, and May 29, 1999, the only attorney general that was not a senior advocate was Dr. Olu Onoguruwa. And you know what happened to him? In other words, if each of these senior advocates of Nigeria, attorney generals, ministers of justice, had stood their ground, these injustices, atrocities would not have reared their ugly heads. And my Lord, I will give you an instance. Prince Ajibola was the attorney general of the Federation. A client of mine was detained in Lagos. The detention order was fraudulently manipulated. My Lord, on October 1, 1987, General Babangida and his service chiefs promoted themselves to higher positions. A client of mine was arrested in September. We challenged his detention in When they were bringing the decree to the Vice Admiral Ihomu forgot that he was a rear admiral in September when he purportedly signed the detention order. But since he was signing it in November, backdated to 17th of September, he put I Vice Admiral Ihomu when he was still a rear admiral. So I spotted that and I accused them of fraud. My Lord.
All right.
When this comes to the ministry,
since you are going to have
Yes,
a write-up, any questions first before we come to... all right. Round of what?
No, what he's just saying now.
No, I don't want to go to personalities.
My lord,
Individuals.
no, I want to complain. Which person?
All right. Cross-examination? Yes? You are going to be crossing by SSS.
SSS, my dear, my friends.
With due respect, my lord, before we go into the serious abuse of Mr. Falana's human rights, can we take that one of NYC so that we can
If you speak up, I hope we are getting him. Recorders?
My lord, I said before we go into the serious abuse of Mr. Falana's human rights, I plead with the commission to please allow us to dispose of the matter with NYSC. That's the number 1 on his petition, my lord.
The youth service, sir.
I want to cross-examine.
You are cross-examining?
Yes, my lord.
Oh, all right. When she finishes, then you can go on.
Mr. Falana, when were you called up for the national service?
I left the law school July 1982. I reported July 24 for the NYSC, and I finished my youth service the following year in Ibadan.
Where were you initially posted for your primary assignment?
Where I was initially posted?
Yes.
They posted me to Borno initially.
No, for your primary assignment, not for the National Youth Service, for your primary assignment.
In Ibadan?
Yes.
It was with the Oyo State Public Complaints Commission.
And where did you end up?
I ended up with the Oyo State Public Complaints Commission. The only problem they had, if I may tell you, they pleaded with me towards the tail end of my service that I had taken up a case involving some students of the University of Ibadan, 7 of them. The case I referred to.
Mr.
And
Falana,
that this had embarrassed the government. They wanted me to look for a private law chambers in Ibadan where I could complete my job in order to save their own job. We then agreed with the concurrence of the NYC that I should be deployed to one Oladapo.
Who pleaded with you?
The chairman of the Oyo State Public Complaints Commission, and I asked them to contact the NYC, and they did.
Okay. It was on your request that you were reposted.
They said I had embarrassed them by suing the federal government of Nigeria, and I had gotten a judgment against the government. And I told them I didn't take any fees.
Mr. Falana, from...
and if I may inform you, the order of the judge who handled the case was withdrawn. And the whole of the Oyo State judges had to ask the state to take all their orders. That a threat to one of us was a threat to all of us.
Mr. Falana.
Yes, ma'am.
Going by your petition, Exhibit 1, you said the case you handled was... what's the name of the case? Was Andrew Ogo and 5 others against Kolawole.
It's reported.
Was that against the federal government?
It's against the Commissioner of Police. And it was it's still a federal agency.
It's not.
And the University of Ibadan, where the matter arose, is a federal institution.
The case you cited said it's against one Kolawole.
And there are other parties to the case.
It's not reflected anyway.
Well, if you check the law report, it's there. That was my first case.
You were reposted for your primary assignment to the chambers of Chief Ojo.
Yes. Oladapo. And I successfully completed the service.
When you asked for a redeployment or a reposting?
I didn't ask. The Oyo State Public Complaints Commission pleaded with me that they wanted me to be redeployed because the case I handled had embarrassed the federal government. A judge was almost going to lose his job. And I said, okay, you go and tell them, I have no problem with handling a case. I didn't take money for it. NYC is for service to the community. I rendered service to the community.
When you were reposted to the chambers of Chief Ojo,
yes.
Was it under any condition?
No, everything was documented. Like what condition? No condition.
For example, were you asked not to help or defend some indigent litigants?
NYSC did not want that, but I told them that as a lawyer, I have to do pro bono cases. If I have offended the law, take me to court.
NYSC did not want you to
do any pro bono cases. And we argued it, and they said, you are right, once you don't take money.
The same NYSC posted you to the chambers.
Of course. This was in just oral discussion. They didn't put anything. I asked them put it in writing. Because I wanted to challenge it in court. They didn't put it in writing.
It wasn't.
And we forgot it.
Of course, it wasn't in writing. The same NYSC that posted you to a law chambers, you claim it's withholding your certificate.
They haven't given me up to now.
Have you asked for it?
Of course. I went to Chief Esan, who was then the inspector in Oyo State, more than 50 times. And anytime I had a case in Ibadan, I would pass through your office on Iwo Road. How far? And I was told, just take your time. We'll get clearance from Abuja. Unfortunately, by the time the military came, it was a no-go area.
When was that?
The time I asked?
Yes.
Between 1983 and 1985. By 85, they then told me that was when you had the Buhari de Agbo Junta. Mr. Falana, stop coming here. If you are seen here, that could even lead us into trouble.
Did you at any time write officially to NYSC to release
I didn't write. It was clear then. Please, Mr. Falana, just keep it. When the atmosphere is ripe, we will release it. And I didn't need it. I left them to have it.
Mr. Falana, apparently you didn't ask because you thought you never needed it.
The case of Bamidele Aturu, I took you to court. You lost. Up to now, you haven't released the discharge certificate. The boy was the best youth copper in Niger State in that year, 1987. You seized his certificate.
Mr. Falana. Because
he refused something that you wanted him to do for the Babangida junta. So we are for this.
Mr. Falana. Mr. Falana.
Yes, my lord.
Were you at the passing out parade?
Of course.
Why did NYSC refuse to release the certificate?
And the governor of your state then,
Mr. Falana.
just the governor of your Shibola even commended me that day because we knew ourselves on the pro-democracy movement. So I was there.
Why were you not giving your discharge certificate at the parade ground?
To explain, they didn't give me.
Were you written officially?
No, they didn't write.
Did you have any disciplinary case?
None at all. Never.
None.
Never.
My Lord, I don't have more questions for him. But I have a witness I want to put in the witness box, my Lord. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes? Mark, yes?
Femi Falana, yes, ma'am. You said in Exhibit 1 you've just read, that you were detained under Decree 2.
Yes.
Can you, as a lawyer and a petitioner in this case, explain to this commission the legal status of Decree 2 as at the time you were arrested before it was abrogated?
Well, as a witness, I'm not supposed to give legal opinion. But if I may help you, at the time I was arrested, the State Security Detention of Persons Decree 2 of 1984, as variously amended, 1987, 90, 93, was to enable the state to decide, that is the Chief of General Staff or the military vice president, to decide to detain any person who was considered a security risk. But in each of the situations, you are required by the law to comply stricto sensu with the law. And once we can show that you didn't comply, on each occasion the court intervened, and I handled more than 25 successful cases of people detained under Decree 2 in whose favor court made orders. And the last one, 1996, I was said to be detained in Lagos. By the time we got to court, I was in Adejia prison on your detention order. And I wrote out, smuggled out the letter to my lawyer to say that I was being held in Mawadashi prison. And once the court came to the conclusion that you were detaining me outside the area authorized by law, I was ordered to be released. That's the law.
Mr. Falana, what, put differently, was Decree 2 a valid law of the land?
It was a valid law of the land under the military regime to be complied with, but they never complied with it.
Thank you.
Counsel, this is a very lovely question, but it will take about 1 week to answer it.
I was coming.
1 week to answer that question, what is a valid law or not?
I was coming to that.
In jurisprudence, the whole exercise is to find what is law. I'm sure you went through the drill when you were a student.
We are not going into that, my lord.
But that's
we'll
what is law.
No, I was just going to
hold it until we agreed on what is law. Then we can go to what is a valid law.
What?
I was just going to add, sir, that those who made those laws lack legitimacy to rule over me. And in one of my cases, I challenged the Babangida junta for accusing me of being disrespectful to constituted authority by asking, who constituted Babangida over me?
Can we make progress?
Yes.
Now that you are very...
we are making progress.
No, don't worry, I'm helping you.
Mr. Falana.
SSS, I'm helping you, so you listen. Now that you are there, you will be very helpful to us elsewhere, not on this discussion on law or no law. I will just remind you of Lord Pierce, the cases from Zimbabwe, Rhodesia. Now, the British government refused to acknowledge accord recognition to Rhodesia. The Rhodesian government went on, and some cases went from Rhodesia to the Privy Council. Privy Council held that it was not a legitimate government, and it was an act or law of an illegitimate regime. Then Lord Pierce wrote a dissenting opinion where he advised that the gulf between legitimacy and actuality and practicality is wide, can only be briefed by common sense.
As a corporate.
So can we go on and stop all this long debate on what is law, what is no law?
My lord, this is it.
It will take 1 week, we haven't finished.
We'll go
My lord, this is not law. I was just going
will
to,
go on. Just answer.
Okay. I was just going to say, sir, that the laws of Agostino Pinochet for 17 years were laws. Pinochet became a fugitive and had to be brought trial under the law. Milosevic
has it been brought?
Is now on trial. Yes, sir. He appeared 3 days ago, sir.
When? Yesterday?
War crime in The Hague 3 days ago.
Oh, 2 days ago.
He refused to plead not guilty. They enter a plea of not guilty for him. No matter how high you are, the law is higher than you.
Mr. Falana, can you tell this court, can you tell this commission, how many times you have been detained under the present democratic government headed by Mr. President Olusegun Obasanjo, by any of these agencies?
I have never ever been detained under the present political dispensation.
Thank you, thank you.
And I can say that I'm very happy about it.
I'm okay by that question.
And I want to say that it is in the interest of all of us that this atmosphere prevails. When the human rights community met the president last year, October, he did assure me, Mr. Falana, he will not be detained under my regime. And I retorted by saying, I assure you under your regime, I will not do anything that will lead to my detention.
Thank you, thank you. Will I be correct to say then that your arrest and detention under the military regime was a function of the system?
No. In many cases, the court pronounced my detention illegal under Decree 2 and awarded damages, which you have not paid. It was an abuse of the process most of the time. Power, power, what fella will call abuse of power. Power show.
You told this commission that since the present administration, you've not been arrested by any of these agencies.
Others are being detained and arrested every day as I'm talking to you.
I am making reference to Mr. Falana, the petitioner.
I'm a privileged person under this system.
Thank you.
But people have been detained in Lagos for wandering, which has been repealed since 1986.
Mr. Falana, I put it. Mr. Falana,
yes, my lord.
I put it to you that your arrest, detention under the military was a function of the system. Function of the system.
No, it was not a function because we also know under the Abubakar regime, which was a military regime, under the Murtala Muhammad regime, which was a military regime, no human rights activist was detained. It's not a function of military regime. It's an abuse of power.
You stated,
in fact, when somebody, doctor, just a minute, let me assist. When Dr. Ohombamu accused Murtala, please,
one question.
This is very important.
Yes.
Even for the present regime.
Yes.
When Dr. Ohombamu, a lecturer at the University of Lagos, accused Murtala of corruption, when he said, physician heal thyself, Murtala got him charged to court. And Murtala promised that he was going to give evidence. But unfortunately, he died. And as soon as he died, a decree came out under the military regime of General Obasanjo, Decree 11 of 1976, which is the precursor of Decree 4 of 1984.
One question for you. When you were reading Exhibit 1, you stated that you saw your name on the SSS list at the airport.
It's still there.
Can you describe that process to this commission?
No, there is.
How you saw it?
At the airport. And when you are traveling, after going through all the formalities, you get to the SSS immigration. They will get your passport. And they will match your passport with what the computer brings out. I am telling you, my name is number 9. List of then wanted persons. And I was here. Nobody declared me wanted. I am saying the president's name is still there. Chibola Again's name is there. It was compiled by since Babangida's time up to Abacha regime. They haven't removed the names. And if you must know, I have filed a case in the Lagos Federal High Court challenging that discrimination, and they have not been able to file a reply to it. Your people have not come to court.
Mr. Falana.
Yes.
Are you aware that the computer at the airport is not visible to passengers?
You know, when I've confessed there
Yes.
that I enjoy goodwill from your people.
Thank you, thank you.
They've shown me.
No further question for the witness. No further question.
I just want to know, I've forgotten the date. There was, is it a workshop, a seminar? Crisis in the rule of law.
Yes, sir. You
Did you
addressed
attend?
us, sir. You addressed us, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, I
Under
delivered the
Akabasha Orun's
Were you
leadership.
there?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
1980.
The point I'm making here is that our government does listen. After that, there was a change in the operation of Decree 2.
Sir. You are very right, sir.
At first, anybody can have this in his pocket, go to a bar. If you quarrel with somebody, just sign and arrest him.
Under Decree 2.
And my junior, when I was a lawyer, came back from work, didn't see his wife. He wanted to ask questions. Say, if you ask, we detain you too. For 1 year and a half, he didn't know what happened to the wife. That was Decree 2. So we attacked it. The lawyers attacked it. I delivered a lecture that day,
Yes, sir.
and the CJN delivered a lecture,
Yes, sir.
and but 2 or 3 of us. Luckily for us, after that, it was changed.
Yes, sir.
And only about 3 people can now sign.
Yes, sir.
So the government does listen. That's why I ask you to write this thing
I will do
properly
that,
for
sir.
us.
I will do that.
And we'll see if we can sell it across
I will do that, sir.
the powers that be.
I will do that, sir.
Decree 2, has it been...
It's been repealed, sir. But before it's repealed, sir, it was pronounced dead in the case of Shima Ubani versus the IGP, that it violates provisions of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights Act.
All right, any other questions? Please don't forget the assignment, please.
I know I've written them down,
Please,
sir.
I hope you noted it.
I-
Assignment on what you gather from all this.
Yes, sir.
And what Nigeria will gain if the structures are reformed. You see. And then the prison services, recommendations for improvement. I
I
think,
have an appeal, sir, which is not going to be covered in what you asked me to write.
don't worry about that. Let's have our own recommendation to them.
No, sir, to the government, sir,
I see.
that those who are in power, sir, all those who are in power should, for heaven's sake, sir, address the problems of hunger, unemployment, insecurity of lives and property. Otherwise, sir, otherwise, if this government, if the civilian regime is overthrown, people will not be able to go to the street. But if people are taken along, sir, Nigerians will fight for democracy. I'm happy when Major Al-Mustafa was complaining. There was blood brought in a Black Maria. I laughed when I read the news, and I was happy that you can now do that, sir. I was detained in 1 year for 10 months by the Abacha regime, sir. I was not allowed to see anybody. Neither was I charged. And in most of the times, even Abiola was brought from Kano to Abuja in Black Maria. On 4 occasions, he fell down. But now, we are all enjoying the dividends of democracy.
All right, let's have the write-up. Maybe you submit them when we call
Thank you, sir.
group. You want to cross-examine? You want to cross-examine him?
1 or 2
All
questions
right.
for him, my lord.
Yes, Milan.
You are a well-known guest of the various security agencies, or
Thank you very
former
much.
guest of the various security agencies.
Thank you very much.
It is in evidence before this honorable commission that, well, you did not complain of any physical torture of your
Psychological a lot.
Yeah, okay. But
Kept, never allowed to read books, no contact with your family. I was never taken to the hospital anytime I was sick. So a lot of psychological torture. And more terrible for me was when I heard anytime that a court had declared my detention illegal and I was not released. A day in prison, when you have been released by law, to spend an extra day in prison is like 50 years.
yes, Mr. Falana, it is also in evidence that you were on the contrary, well treated by the security agents.
In fact, I used to have
You
boys
said so.
who would administer, unto me. I was a VIP.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, leaving aside the issue of mental torture and the legality or otherwise of your detention, are we adding them on the fact that security agencies, in fact, have a legitimate duty to arrest anyone on reasonable suspicion of an offense being about to be committed or in fact having been committed? Are we adding them on that?
No, that is the law. The security agencies have the right to arrest anybody if there is reasonable suspicion. But in all the cases I've cited, on no occasion.
I'm talking about your case, Mr. Falana.
On no occasion was there a reasonable suspicion. And that was why they never successfully prosecuted me in any court.
Are you a security agent? I thought you were a lawyer.
No, I was a lawyer, a security risk considered by them.
Yeah, well. Are you saying that on all those occasions you were arrested, there was in fact no particular occasion where the agents were right in arresting you?
None. In fact, there was one occasion, in fairness to the legal department in Alagbon, they arrested me for sedition. And I said, gentlemen, are you aware that this law has been pronounced dead? In fairness to them, they said they were not aware. I had to send somebody to my chambers to bring the law report. And when the officers read it, they made a recommendation that it's a case of let my people go.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Falana. Now, one last question, just to get the record straight. Please look at the second page of Exhibit 1. I just want to reconcile this statement with, because you had already said that you were well treated during your various detentions.
No, you can't be well treated in prison. I say I enjoyed goodwill.
Okay.
From security agents.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Falana.
Outside the law, because they would be dealt with if the officers knew.
Now, page 2 of Exhibit 1, the paragraph under 1990. I was arrested about 6 a.m. on April 10, 1990 in my residence in Lagos by 3 operatives of State Security Service. I was driven to Lagos Ekpe Road where they suddenly stopped and threw me out of the car. I just want to know if we are to take this threw me out literally, or you mean that they stopped and dropped you?
In fairness to them, they stopped and led me to the bush and they disappeared.
Okay.
Very desolate road.
Right.
Because I understand they were talking through this thing. The operation had been botched. Because Beko had been arrested 4 a.m., I didn't allow them to arrest me until 6 a.m. It was now daybreak. They didn't know what to do with us. They just threw us to the bush. Said, find your way.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Falana.
you.
My Lord, no further questions for him.
You mentioned attorneys general and being part of our problem.
Yes, sir.
Well, I was a member of the Kadesh panel, yes, and we noted that in our report.
I appear before you in Lagos.
Which has not been published.
Yes, sir.
But have you read our Temple of Justice?
Yes, sir.
You have read it?
Of course, sir.
Well, a point was taken there too, that Attorney General is first and foremost a lawyer.
Yes, sir.
And owes perpetual duties to the rule of law.
Yes, sir.
He's temporarily an Attorney General. And his duty towards the bar is greater than his duty as Attorney General because he returned to the bar.
I agree with you.
So if you can work that up, if you have the book, I think it's chapter 2 or something, the Attorney General, the Ministry of Justice, vis-a-vis law and order in Nigeria. They have to do their duty, but they're still lawyers. There I gave an example of an Attorney General who was, they held a meeting, they went to arrest a judge in court with his red full button wig. He said, no, don't do that. It will earn us very bad image. They listened, they didn't do it. If the Attorney General didn't say that, they could have arrested a judge. So try and see if you all can invest, research on what we can put in place to let the Attorney Generals, sometimes, and the judges know the responsibility not to A or B, but to Nigeria and to law, we'll be very, very, very grateful for the research. We are doing our own research, do your own research, then we'll compare notes when you come. Is that the end of your case?
Yes, my lord, I was just...
Somebody wants to call a witness. Do you still really want to call a witness? To prove what? You didn't qualify, you didn't go through the YNS. Is there a statute of limitation in the NYS? No. So.
My lord, I want to put the witness in the witness box. Not to prove that Mr. Falana did not serve with the National Youth Service Corps, but to prove to him that he never asked for his certificate. As a matter of fact, my lord, we have a certificate bearing the name Mr. Femi Falana. But just like any civilized society, NYSC has its procedure for the collection of the certificate. I just want, the witness is just to tell Mr. Falana what he ought to do to collect the certificate, and not coming to the commission to order us to release your certificate to you.
Will that,
so with due respect, my lord,
advance the cause of Nigeria and justice?
He's coming to this place.
All right. It's not adversary proceeding. We're not going to give damages for or against. But if you still want, put
yes, my lord, I want the witness.
All right. Let him put it.
Very good.
For that, you don't just give him the certificate.
Swear him.
Counsel for NYSC. I hope at the end of it, you will end up by giving him the certificate here.
Yes, my lord, he will come over to, not here, my lord. There are procedures he has to fulfill before we give that to him.
What did he do with it? Yes?
I, Gregory Cass Enegwe, do solemnly swear by the evidence I shall give before this honorable commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Thank you very much. You can sit down here if you like. Yes, it will be better. Then you speak into the microphone. Okay.
Honorable Commission, your name, your address, your position.
My name.
Go ahead.
I am Gregory Cass Enegwe, Director, Corps Mobilization of the National Youth Service Corps in Nigeria. My address is NYSC Directorate Headquarters, Garki, Area 3, Abuja.
What does your job entail?
My job or my schedule entails calling up for the national service of all eligible Nigerians. I call them up and I distribute them to all the states in the Federation. And of course, while they are there, I prepare their certificates well in advance of their discharge, and we give the certificates to those of them who are entitled to collection of that certificate. Of course, when they come to attend the passing out ceremony and they come forward to
sign and collect the certificates.
Please tell the Honorable Commission what you know about the petition of the petitioner.
I know from records in the NYSC dating from 21st August 1982 and terminating on August 20th, 1983, that there was a core member called Femi Falana. He was posted to Oyo State and he duly registered at the orientation camp. That he served for 12 months less 3 weeks of terminal leave, which is the statutory prescription for the service. He was first posted to Public Place Commission, Ibadan, and later reposted to illegal chambers, Ojo and Co. He was, all the people in his set, with less 7 of them, were discharged at the end of July 1983.
Is it against the NYSC rules and regulations for a core lawyer to defend, to go to court in defense of litigants?
No, that is the schedule of a lawyer. It will be of interest to the Honorable Commission that the NYSC has been operating free legal services. Mr. Femi Falana should be very much acquainted with this, that we always take pride in our core members defending those who are unable to pay for legal services. And if Mr. Femi Falana defended some group of students, nobody in the NYSC will victimize him for that or punish him by not giving him his certificate. Instead, we will commend him. We will not condemn him for defending anybody. He knows what the NYSC legal aid services represent.
Why? Why, if you know, do you think that the petitioner's certificate is still with NYSC 18 years after his national service?
Yes, it is there because he did not come for it. Mr. Femi Falana should recollect there were 3,980 of them in Oyo State Secretariat that time he served. 7 of them had disciplinary cases. The name Femi Falana was not there. The rest, 3,973, came forward, showed their ID cards after collecting their statutory payment or terminal payment. They signed for their certificates. Nobody prevented them from taking. If Mr. Femi Falana did not avail himself of the collection of that certificate at the end of July 1983, we would go looking for him, chasing him all over the country to give him his certificate. So his certificate is still with us because he has not come for it.
Are there procedures for the collection of this certificate, or is it possible to give it out to him here and now?
Perhaps I must say this with all due respect. Mr. Femi Falana is a lawyer, an outspoken lawyer at that. In that case, I know he's very well acquainted with procedures for getting whatever people want. I want to assure him that we have a certificate. And like I said, we have not given it to him these 18 years because he did not come to ask for it. But if all we are saying is Femi Falana should come to the NYSC to establish proof of ownership of the certificate we have with us. And like I have said, the NYSC is not keeping Mr. Falana's certificate for any reason or for the reasons he adduced here. Because like I said, we are always happy and we advertise it when any core member wins a case in defense of someone who cannot afford to pay the legal bills. And in any case, if he won the case, we should be very happy with him. Like I said, there are procedures. I was happy when he was answering a question here. He made allusion to something that, of course, he was paraphrasing he was paraphrasing to the Roosevelt, that everybody is above the law. Yes, nobody is above the law and nobody is below it. Mr. Femi Falana should know that of the 3,980 of them that served in the NYSC, all of them came forward, showed their ID cards that was given to them, they signed for the certificate, and we gave them. We had no reason to hold the certificate. But like I said, he has not still come for it. If he comes for it today, following the normal process, we will give it to him. But let me say this with all due respect. It seems to me that Mr. Femi Falana regards in publicity. This idea of not being given a certificate, to me, is a way of getting that publicity which he considers cheap. Now, if Mr. Falana wants to get his certificate, let him come to us. For instance, he claimed just now that between 1983, 84, and 85, he was at the NYSC Secretariat in Oyo State, where Mrs. Esson, who was the chief inspector, told him that the certificate was at Abuja. For Christ's sake, the certificate of Mr. Femi Falana did not come to Abuja until 1998. And Mrs. Esson, that he quoted profusely as saying that his certificate was in Abuja, was even in Lagos at the time he was claiming to have seen Mrs. Esson. And in any case, at the time of between 83 and 85, NYSC headquarters was it in Abuja. So nobody could have told him that the certificate was in Abuja. It was in Lagos. And of course, that certificate of Mr. Femi Falana only came to the NYSC Directorate headquarters in 1998 because they had waited for him for so many years, he did not come forward to collect it. So it's not, I don't think
Can
it
we
is
make
true.
progress? He's repeated it 3 times. Can we make progress?
That's
He
all I
repeated
have.
procedure 3 times.
That's
and he
all
had
I
to
have
come
for the witness, my
and
lord.
prove his identity before they give him the certificate. Any questions? Any cross-examination?
Just 1 or 2 questions. Yeah, witness, you said Mr. Falana completed his youth service together with the others. At what point did you give others their discharge certificate?
It was at the passing out ceremony, which he claimed earlier he attended, but he did not
Thank you, that's all. He attended the passing out
He
parade.
claimed he attended it.
Why was he not given when others were given?
I am convinced he wasn't there, because if he was there and if he called for it, he would be given like all the others.
Evidence is not if. Can you say he was there or he was not there? You don't know.
I wouldn't know.
Exactly.
I don't know if he was
He said
there.
he was there.
No, he said he was there. And I'm saying if he
Anyway,
was
not there
there, it
when
means
they
he
were
did not
passing
come
out.
for the certificate.
And he
didn't
said the
come forward to
governor,
collect it.
one Bonaige, greeted him on the parade line.
Yeah,
Now witness, that's all right. Now witness.
we still recall that he even said that Bola Ige greeted him as a pro-democracy movement member. But that is not the same thing
Yeah, that's all
as
right. You
greeting
don't-
him or congratulating him for the discharge on the NYSC.
Yes, that's all right. Yes, you said he should follow the proper procedure to obtain. What is that procedure? Can you tell this?
The
panel
procedure, if he availed himself that day at the parade ground to say he wanted his certificate because all the
I'm talking
others
of now.
queued up. all the others queued up and signed for their certificates.
I am talking of now. You say you are not aware.
Oh.
Yes, I'm talking of now. You do not know why he was not given then. But I'm talking of now. Now you have told this panel that he needs to do certain things. What are those conditions?
Let him come to the NYSC and tell us that he needs the certificate of national service. Since we are not holding any case against him at our end, we will give it to him. But the truth is, he has to establish claim of proof of ownership. And by this, just a minute. By this, I'm saying that Mr. Femi Falana, we gave him an identity card. We gave.
That's all right, panel. That's all right.
If the commission.
That's all right. That's all right. Witness. So that we do not further waste time. So that we do not further waste the time of this panel. If the commission orders that this certificate be released here and now, are you ready to release the certificate? Since you say it is here,
maybe,
and we are ready to take it now, are you ready to release it?
Let me just explain something. With all due respect, even from his file as a core member, it is so glaringly obvious and in fact documented. Mr. Femi Falana has a penchant for getting what he wants through means that are unorthodox. Just a minute. When he was a youth corps member...
Witness, is that a fact or your personal motive?
It is a fact. I have his file here.
Witness, was it disciplined?
I have a file here. Now, when Mr. Falana wanted to be transferred to the... when he wanted to be removed or reposted from Public Complaints Commission, it was his duty to write to the NYSC through the Public Complaints Commissioner. But all he did was to go to their office, twist their arms, and insist that they have to write for him. The letter is there because they wrote to say at his instance.
I put it to you now that you have refused. You refused. You perhaps refused. You perhaps refused to give him this discharge certificate because of this, your personal view.
That is not true because we have refused to give him the certificate because he has not come to collect his certificate.
Now I ask again. Now he's ready to receive the certificate. Yes. Are you ready to release it now to the commission?
He should follow the normal processes of the certificate.
That's all, my lord. That's all, my lord.
I'm saying this because the 3,000...
Director.
Sir.
I mean, you have said earlier that, you have nothing against him.
Nothing.
Now, quite honestly, is it reasonable to expect him, Femi Falana, to follow the normal procedure, which includes producing the identity card he was given 18 years ago? Is it reasonable?
With all due respect,
yes.
I'm saying that because the other 3,973 who were discharged that day did not need to come to the commission to take their certificates. But if the commission decides or directs, as he is saying, well, the NYSC has no objection to giving him his certificate.
We ought to do that.
But we are only saying...
With due respect, my lord. With due respect, my lord. With due respect, my lord. Because of the the esteem, the high esteem we have for this commission. If the commission so directs, we are ready to release a certificate to him here, because Femi Falana is a household name. Everybody knows him. And based on that, I think it can be released to him.
Now, you say he has to establish something. Do you know who Femi Falana is? Do you know him?
I have heard about him, but I don't know him.
Do you know him?
I know he's the president of the Committee on Defense of Human
Look
Rights.
at me. Do you know him personally? Do you know the person called Femi Falana? Do you know him?
I've only seen him here today. I have not known him.
You don't know him before?
No.
I see. So somebody has to give evidence that he is Femi Falana. If he comes to you don't know him, how does he establish his identity?
Yeah, the truth is that before we discharge any core member, we give identity cards to core members. He's still keeping his own. He will give it to us, and we look at it, establish the fact that he is the one, and we give him his certificate.
My Lord, may I humbly apply? My Lord.
Now, where is the council? Is this something that requires order from this commission? Is it something that requires an order from this commission to give him his card?
My Lord, it's not, but... Very well.
Then we will decide what to do with it when we have it.
Very well, my Lord.
Have you got it there? Have you got the...
My Lord, the certificate
have
is
you got
here.
it?
It's here, my Lord.
Tender it at an exhibit. If you have it, tender it as an exhibit through him.
Now, Director. Yes. That Mr. Femi Falana. That is good reconciliation between NYC and Mr. Femi Falana. Yes, you give him and shake him.
Yeah,
hold it first. The certificate is not tendered and admitted and marked Exhibit 5. Now I can make an order for the disposal of Exhibit 5. Tender it first.
Okay.
Well, don't write anything on it. Now it's hereby ordered that Exhibit 5 be delivered to the owner, Femi Falana.
Get a piece of paper for me. He has to sign that he has collected it. Yes.
What?
Get a piece of paper. Thank you.
Then formally hand it over to him.
Okay, I would like to hand the NYSC certificate for Mr. Femi Falana to him as directed by the commission.
All right.
But well, his certificate is here. Is call-up number OY/law/48/516.
Thank you very much.
With all due respect, my lord. With all due respect, my lord. Mr. Femi Falana, you will sign for the certificate. But even then, I want to congratulate you for coming forward to get your certificate after 18 years of national service. But again, you see, I still want to advise Mr. Femi Falana, because I served in the Youth Service Corps before you. I served 73, 74. Now, there is just one thing I want to sound to him. If you are in your state and you have a stain on your shokoto, the proper thing to do is not to go to Sokoto to clean it, unless you want publicity. Now, we have given it to you here because of the immense respect we have for the commission. Otherwise, you were to come to our office and show us your identity card before we give it to you.
My Lord, my Lord, I want to thank this honorable commission for achieving this feat, which has taken me 18 years to achieve in vain. And I want to assure the director that on Monday latest, I will send to him my identity card, which I have kept. Furthermore, sir, I also want to assure him that much as the fish loves water, it is not when it is hot. I don't enjoy publicity for the sake of it. But if we need publicity to make this society move forward, one has no regret. Thank you, sir.
That is on one aspect. There are so many other aspects.
We've already told him what to do about other aspects, that he can't but suffer if he wants to.
Counsel for Falana, is that the case? Are you calling more witnesses the case?
It's fine.